for our folks who were not able to join us because they were in many different places at once. I know you're all very busy, so please don't let that stop you from asking questions. I just want to be able to have a recording of this that I'll be able to download then and share with the other mentors who weren't able to join us. So I don't think we're going to take the full hour. My first meeting this morning didn't take the full hour, but certainly I have the time available for anybody who would like to use that time. So does that sound okay to everybody?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dawn.
Yes.
Wonderful. All righty. So first thing that we're going to talk about is I want to go through and take a look at the graphic together that we discussed last month and really kind of dig it apart. We didn't get a chance to really do that. It was just an introduction. So I'm going to go through and talk about some of the pieces and what you're going to be expecting and how this is going to work. So this morning when I was chatting with some of the mentors, they were a little unsure about some of the pieces. So the first piece is going to be, we're moving this to a referral-based process. So that STARS manager assessment that they complete at their first planning visit, that's going to be what drives everyone. That's going to be what drives enrollment into the project. So the STARS manager at their planning visit, they're going to go out and they're going to do the assessment, which looks very, very similar to probably way back one of our first recording tools that we had used for our mentees. So very similar process, just a checklist going through the standards, and it's going to tell them where the program needs a little additional help. They're going to talk through with the program what the pieces are that program needs help with, and then discuss with them, well, what's the best way to get you that support. And it might be that it could be something that's maybe just a small connection they might make to a blueprint group. It could be maybe some self-study, or it could be that, a mentor is going to be the best step. That's going to be where they think the most amount of concentrated help could be available. So with that being said, then the STARS manager is going to ask that now they're going to be called a potential mentee because they're completing a referral. They're going to be doing an application. So once they do that, then what I'm going to be doing, and let me see if I can scroll this down a little. Oh, it scrolled a little too fast. Sorry. I got a new version of Microsoft. I'm using 2013. Do any of you ladies have that? Because it is exciting to use, let me tell you. I'm not real proficient in using it yet. So I'm trying to do something. I don't know. And it's not doing it. Yeah, let me just try to move the box here so I can get back to where we want to look. Yeah. Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry. Sometimes, with all this technology, I don't. Oh, something's happening. There we go. Okay, I'm touching things now. Sorry. All right. The STARS manager then is going to have a meeting with me, and we're going to discuss, well, what does this mentee need? And the nice thing is we'll have that assessment that we'll be able to use as the first step in giving you more information about what you're going into with the mentee. Now, it's going to be a nice piece because we're all going to be working together to support that mentee and moving up. Right now I realize you ladies you go into these new relationships, for lack of a better term, a little bit blind and how the program is functioning. And we want to make sure you're supported and not having to kind of start that assessment just totally from scratch. So you'll have some pieces together and we'll share that. So the piece that I wanted to, really talk about is when you have your new mentee and you go to that first meeting, what's going to happen then is the STARS manager, and this is the big, big change, they are totally being removed from the situation. I'm going to be working with that program then. They're going to be placed in a mentoring caseload, which is a temporary caseload, if you will, where it's going to be me, it's going to be you, and we're going to be working with that program in a very concentrated way to be able to help them move up in stars. The other piece that I want to mention about the assessment is that that program is going to be the most ready of the ready. I've noticed that you ladies, you've been getting mentees that might not quite be ready to move forward. They might have some barriers. So I'm thinking that the transition meeting with the STARS manager and getting more information about that program's readiness is going to help in negating any kind of issues you might have with working with a mentee who's really just not at that point of development where you can be the best person to assist them. And the other piece I want to let you know too is during this time when they're in the mentoring caseload, any questions, any support, anything that's going to be going on with that program, if they might need their Star 1 renewal completed, anything like that, I'm going to be handling for the program. So I'm pretty much their temporary STARS manager. Anything you need, more than happy to help you. More than happy to help you. I'm really looking forward to being able to dive in a lot deeper and give you more concentrated support and to give the mentees more concentrated support on how they can expect the processes to flow. And I'm hoping it'll be a much smoother process, and it'll also provide the kind of support that we're looking for in order to really help the mentees move forward in a way that they feel comfortable. So when the program is ready, and this is all going to be based on really your assessment, where you feel that program is. When they're ready and you say, I think the pre-designation visit should happen, please, you let me know that, and I will come out and do the pre-designation for you. I would invite you, if you have the time, and I know you're very limited on time. I understand that. But if you would like, you're more than welcome to be present at the pre-designation visit. Or, what I'm going to make sure I do is after the pre-designation visit, share with you the results. I want to make sure that you understand, okay, these are all the things that I saw, and then we'll compare them with what you saw. And that way we can make sure we're all on the same page too. Feedback is huge. And I want to make sure you have the best feedback possible for the mentee to have the best positioning and moving forward, and also for you to have the best idea of, how this all looks at a Star 2. And, are you really, it's always good to know, are you doing what you should be doing? And without feedback, how do you know that? You need to have that feedback, and I want to make sure that you're supported in that feedback. So after the program moves into a Star 2, there's going to be a very, very important meeting that we're going to have, and we're going to have the mentees' input in this too, and that's going to be preparing a document for transition. I shouldn't say document, that sounds a little scary. It's not that bad. It's just a few areas that we want to touch base on what's this person's next steps, what makes sense for them. Maybe they're a program that has a lot going on. They have a really strong staff base. They have curriculum in place. They've got an assessment tool already. Well, it sounds like they might be a great program to just keep going and moving in stars. That could be your recommendation, and that's what we might go with. Maybe they would want to keep moving with you in stars. Maybe it's a program that, they got in as a Star 2, and that's probably where they're going to need to stay for a little bit and strengthen up some areas. Those areas for recommendation, we'll be putting together a document for that. So I'll be looking really, really heavily to be able to keep moving the program forward, and we'll have an in-depth conversation about it, and then we can share that back with the STARS manager. Like I said, maybe they'll stay with us. Maybe it's the best choice. Maybe not. But this is the point where we can take that support that we've already been giving the program and be able to take it to the next level of, you're not alone. We're going to keep helping you, but these are the pieces I think you could use some help on. Let's get you some PA. Let's get you some infant toddler mental health consultation. Let's get to some different pieces. And that way you're still helping, just not as in a direct fashion. Um, then the last piece on our happy little graphic, oh, maybe I'm learning how to move things better. No, I'm not. Okay, is that they're a star too? Yay! And they can continue to stay with us, or um, maybe they'll move to a stars manager. But this transition meeting, these pieces are so critical to being able to really support that mentee in the best fashion possible. So I wanted to go over those pieces. I know it was kind of a lot, and I talked quickly, but I did introduce this back in December, so you've seen it. I don't want to belabor it. I just wanted to let you know when I start asking you when you get a new mentee, oh, gee, hey, when's your first meeting? Let me get that out of there. I apologize. When's your first meeting? I'd like to be present. It's because that program's going to be coming into my caseload. I want to get to know them. I want to be able to support your relationship. I might not be able to make it to every program in person. I would love to, but I might not be able to. So certainly I would like to be there, via a conference call, or maybe if you're feeling really exciting, we could do a little FaceTime or something along those lines. So I'm really trying to use technology to be many places at once, and I'm sure you all know the feeling of trying to be many places at once, but somehow we managed to do it. So I want to pause for a moment. I did a lot of talking, and does anybody have any questions about that process and how that's all going to look? I do want to let you know we are in transition at this point, so you may have received a new mentee and you didn't get an assessment with them. Know that that's starting to happen now. So if you didn't get one, I'm sorry, you're just kind of in the flux period. As we keep progressing and strengthening this process, you will be getting those assessments. So let me be quiet for a moment. And if you've got, if you want to chat in the chat box, I'm more than happy to take a look. Or if you'd like to talk, let me know what you think.
Anya, can you hear me?
I certainly can. Hi, Mary.
Hi. I just have a question. So my mentee is very close to a pre-designation.
Yeah.
And would we be talking to you about doing this pre-designation with what we're talking about? And also, I know because when we started, she was still actively involved with her stars manager. I know the stars manager offered to help her with like her percentages as far as the career lattice and stuff. So it looks like we're a little bit in the because we've been working together for a little while, we're a little bit kind of stuck in the middle. So how would you like to handle the pre-designation?
Well, I'm going to be talking to Liz about that. I'm thinking since she's so close to pre-designation, we might just have Liz follow that all the way through, and it'll make sense with a new mentee to kind of pick up from that point. So
okay.
I'm going to be...
I just didn't want to step on anybody's toes or do anything wrong. So
I don't think that's possible, Mary. You cannot... No. No.
Well, thank you for that. So, I would like to be there at the pre-designation, so I'll try to set something up.
Wonderful. Yeah, let me touch base with Liz, because what I'm doing now is all the programs that are currently in the mentoring project. I'm going through them, seeing where the stars managers are with scheduling pre-deses, if they've done it yet or not, and kind of getting a read on where they are in their readiness. So I know if it's like a month or two out, maybe they wouldn't be a good case, a good person for me to take, because they're pretty much close. But there's others that, maybe they need a little additional help. So
right.
I appreciate that question. That was a great question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions about the process? Because I really am looking forward to being able to be out there and work with you ladies again. It's always a pleasure. So, okay. Well, then we're just going to keep plowing along here. And I wanted to pull up a copy of the mentoring plan and what that looks like, and give you a little bit of information why that changed, because it looks different now. And if you haven't got to use it yet, I don't want you to be scared of it. So I know you're all fearless, but I don't want you to be scared of it. So here you go. This is what it looks like. It's much different than any plan that we've used before. And this is the background about it. Now with the different kinds of mentoring that exist out there, and let me just do, I guess, tiny little bit of history. We've got the Rising Stars mentoring, which we knew was the first kind of mentoring. Then we expanded that and said, okay, well, if a program wants to move from a 2 to a 3, we can use mentors to help with that as well. And now the state's looking at how do we take those programs that were friend neighbor programs, which I'm sure you've heard about, them coming into the fold and taking them under our wing, so to say, as being registered family, licensed. Got to get the terminology right. Licensed family child care programs. How can we support them in this process? So they created the ability of mentoring to extend to programs that are new, totally brand new, and sort of bring them up as a fledgling in the process. And that's called the, let me make sure I get it, Startup Technical Assistance Mentoring. There we go. I had to think it through because I don't want to get it wrong. So one plan that spanned all 3 programs is why we have this mentoring plan looking the way it looks. We didn't want you to have to use different documents, and we wanted something that was going to stay familiar as well to the programs when they're going through and looking at, well, how is this different? Why would this be changing? We wanted it to be simple all the way through. The other piece that the state asked us to do that honestly we didn't have, and I'm trying to get this up. Here we go. Oh, there was a bar. Come on, buddy. Oh, there we go. Okay, there, beautiful. The other piece that they asked us to do was we needed to have one document that had both the mentors and the mentee's signature on it. We didn't have that. And as they're starting to roll out, like we were talking about the interaction logs that we have to do now that are all going to filter into the peer mentoring database, they're also putting out more stipulations surrounding what our documentation needs to look like. So they said one document. They wanted us to call it a mentoring contract. I think that sounds a little scary. So we're calling it a mentoring plan. And it really is the same kind of work that you've been doing before. It's just broken into the 4 different sections of the standards. And it's a very free-flowing document, very free-flowing. You can start with something on here. This doesn't need to. What we're just looking for is a framework that's going to be guiding how you're going to be doing the work with your mentee. So keep it living, keep it active. You don't need to worry and stress about this too much. We're just looking for what's the work going to entail, and then for the signatures. This is your mechanism for your first stipend payment. The difference then, oopsie, that's my email. Oh, I do apologize for my navigation issues. The difference then is going to be the mentoring plan is the first piece that you're going to need to submit with a new mentee, and then that interaction log is the second piece. So I believe most of you have had the experience with using the interaction log. So I wanted to take a moment and ask, and let me pull one up here so we can see it and we're all on the same page. Sometimes it is nice to have this technology, just as long as you're able to use it properly. And here we go. Here's a blank interaction log so we can take a look. And I wanted to see if anybody, wanted to talk this through. They had any comments. Is everybody feeling okay with it? Because it's a lot different and it's in Excel. And the information I had gotten as to when this was going to become active, the peer mentoring database, which is why we have to do all this, because it's all going to get dumped in this wonderful, wonderful database. And then we'll be able to not have to do any of this. It's all going to be like an online system, sort of. I don't want to say like Pelican, because that brings up mixed feelings. Some love it, some hate it. But it's going to be one centralized system for us, as opposed to multiple documents we need to enter in. So I just want to take a moment, and is everybody okay with using this process? Is there any questions about it? I want to make sure you feel comfortable.
I have no problem with it, Tanya. I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm comfortable as well.
Good. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. And I mean, always, if you have some trouble and you're kind of like, I don't know really how to use this, don't hesitate to give me a ring. I'm more than happy to walk you through, and I'll do my best with my crazy technology here to help you in the whole process. So I just wanted to take a moment and kind of, touch base on that real quick. Okay. The next piece I wanted to talk about then is the Blueprint for Success groups. You might have seen in the Key Connection them advertising these Blueprint for Success groups, and I wanted to give you a little bit more background about that and let you know what's coming for your mentees. What a Blueprint for Success group is it's a concentrated schedule of trainings that are based solely on the standards. So each time there's a session, it's about like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Each session is focused around meeting a specific piece of the standards. For example, you might have something along the lines of a communication with family session. And that communication with family session, that's going to focus solely on, well, how do you meet the standard in terms of parent conferences? How do you do that with the getting to know you meetings? And at those sessions, then tools are given with how the mentee could be able to meet those standards. It's very, very similar to what you do in your everyday interactions. So what I'm going to be doing, since I'm going to be focusing, and I'm so happy to be able to say this, I'm going to be focusing on the mentees and my mentors and helping you move forward. These Blueprint for Success groups, it's going to be a concentrated group of trainings that I'm going to be sharing with you and your mentees. So you have a schedule in front of you, and when you go and you're working with a mentee, you can say, it looks like you need a little bit of help there in doing some staff meetings. Here's what I do, but if you look on this Blueprint for Success, there's going to be a session that's going to be happening on this date. Maybe you want to tune into that, and it'll give more information. It's a tool for you to be able to have additional support to be able to guide your mentees to. The nice thing is, so much of the core series trainings have now been online. So now we can look at this, and it's really going to depend. I understand everybody's at different places in technology. So this might work for some people. It might not work for other people. But you're the best judge of that, because when you're working with your mentee, if they're, wow, okay, I can do technology, that's okay. Or they're like, the best choice for them is going to be face-to-face kind of classes. This whole session is going to be online, and I'm going to be running it. Woohoo! So there's a little bit of an extra fun there. So I'm going to be supporting that. And you're welcome to attend with your mentee, to send your mentee for it. I'm looking towards getting that schedule out on probably middle to end of next week. So that way you'll have that information with you, and you can use that with your mentees. But really, I wanted to be able to give you that extra tool to be able to move forward. The other thing I wanted to do too was ask 2 big questions, which I posed to the first group, and I'd love to pose it to you ladies as well. How do you think your mentees are with technology? Do you think doing an online group would be helpful to them? And then the other question I have for you too, it's a two-parter, is what time do you think would work for folks? I was looking at more of an afternoon, evening, like around 6:30 of having these groups to be able to have the most attendees in the classes. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that too. So feel free to shoot me a chat box, let me know your thoughts. Just go ahead and talk. I'd love to hear what you think.
I always found that evening meetings are tough because people have families and things like that. I always like nap time meetings, but that might be a personal preference, and other people may have different thoughts on it.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I think to keep everyone in mind, the first question you asked about technology, I think it'll always be different depending on, the person's tech savviness. But I think that it might be good for me. A nap time works, and I think it might work for a lot of programs. I know the family providers, a lot of them are really tied up all day, except nap time perhaps, and the evening could get challenging just because of families' obligations and things like that.
As far as the technology, Tanya, I was surprised with this mentee that I actually had to walk through the PAP's website step by step, which I thought was easy. But sometimes you don't stop to think that it might be difficult for somebody. But then once she was walked through it, now she's okay. So I think the ease, I apologize for that, the ease at which you can get onto the webinar or the training is going to make it, will make it better, I think.
Okay. Okay. What do you ladies think about this? Because I feel comfortable doing recorded sessions and then sending them out to you ladies because, I know you're conscientious and you will be able to listen to it at your own pace. Do you think it would make sense if I would be doing, if I would do the webinars, record them, and then send them out to mentees and they could watch it at their own pace? Do you think that would be helpful, or do you feel that needs to be again, a guided experience that questions can be asked during the process? I don't know.
I had to answer the phone, so I hope I didn't miss the first part, but I was going to say I think that's a good, at least in the beginning, a really good idea, because just like my website example, the first ones, if they're recorded, I could actually help her get on, say, so that it's a real comfortable sequence that they know how to do it, and then you could move on to other things later. That's my opinion.
Okay. I agree with you, Mary. See, I figured if I'm already going to be doing it, having the recording and then having it available, I don't see the harm in that. I'm also seeing actually an advantage to that too, because I would be able to have those recordings available to you ladies as mentors. And then if you're working with a program, you would be able to say, gee, of course, after this is all completed, you'd be able to say, here is something for you to listen to, which is going to talk through how to meet that standard. Do you think that would be a good tool for you?
I think so.
I agree.
Good. Because really, I want to make sure I have things out there that are meaningful for you all. So, wonderful. Okay. Great. So look for that, like I said, about the middle to the end of next week. I'll have that out for you with some dates, and I'll make sure I record it all. And all right, thank you, Sandy. She says that would be an excellent resource. Good. I'm happy to be able to do that, and I'll have that out to you all. Also, too, when I send that out, I would love, and I can't say it enough. I'd love your feedback on when I have that calendar out. If you see something that you're like, I don't know if that really makes sense for the mentees, or if you see something missing, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email and say, well, don't you think you should do a session on this? Because if you're excuse me, if you're thinking that, that means it should be there because other folks, I'm sure, are thinking it too. So please, I love when you shoot me ideas back because that's really how it helps the program grow. And the last thing I want to touch on is, of course, we want to keep growing the program, and we want to be able to have the best resources out there to be able to put our best foot forward in saying, this is why you want to move in STARS. This is why you want to grow in STARS. So I have some materials that I created that are talking from a movement perspective, why it's important to move in STARS. And I would like to be able to do a big ask here, and I know you're all busy. I would really like to do a big ask that if I send some materials out to you, if you could take a look over them from the lens of a mentee, from the lens of a STAR 1, would these materials be something that you'd find appealing? Do they speak to you? Or are they something that's kind of doesn't really mesh with how a program moving up in STARS would be feeling about the program? So I really would love your expert opinions on how these things look, because I want them to be, like I said, meaningful, and I want them to get to our target audience. So would everybody be okay if taking a look at some materials that I sent?
Sure.
Sure.
Wonderful. Yep. Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for doing that. The other thing I'm going to do too is I'd like to send you when I'm sending those materials, I'm going to pose this big question to you. And this is a big one. And I would love your help with this as well. I've tried to put together some different incentives for mentees. When a mentee moves to a STAR 2, making sure that they get, like last fiscal year, they got like a little resource kit that had all kinds of manipulatives and fun things for them. This fiscal year, they're getting a STEM kit that they're able to work with the children in their program. Everybody loves STEM right now, very hot. So what I was wondering is, what you've been working with mentees now. You've seen what their programs have and maybe what they don't have. What do you feel would be something that would be meaningful, that would be able to motivate a mentee, that would be a really good carrot at the end of their journey? Besides all the wonderful knowledge that they've gained, the access to the grants program, all that good stuff, what would be something meaningful that you would feel really happy to give a mentee? And that's just a thought. So you don't have to answer me now, but that's just what I want you to, if you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts with me, I would really appreciate it. Because like I said, I want this to be something that's meaningful. I was on a call a little bit earlier, and one of the keys actually gives their participants of the mentoring program a literacy center. It's like a really nice collection of books. So I don't know if that's something you see lacking in your program and the programs, the mentees that you
love that idea, Tanya. I love that idea.
Yeah, the literacy center. Okay.
I love that. Yep. Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay. And I mean, really, anything else that you think might be relevant, that would work. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. So I put a big star next to literacy center. So that's a good one. That's a good one. But as you're thinking, as you're looking at the materials and getting really inside the head of these STAR 1s and figuring out what they need, I appreciate any and all suggestions. I really do. You ladies do fabulous work, and it's very, very meaningful to be able to have something that can extend the program's learning, and that it's a suggestion that comes directly from you. I find that to have a lot of heart behind it. So that was a lot of quick talking for a Friday afternoon. Does anybody have any questions? Anything anybody wants to chat about before we end for the afternoon? Okay, and I see I have a question from Yvette, so that's wonderful. Yvette, is it something that you'd like to talk about in private, or is this for the entire group that we could chat about a little bit? Okay, alrighty. So what I'm gonna do is, if anybody, needs anything, please, of course, feel free to call me, email me. One thing I did want to let you all know about is the stipend payments. I do sincerely apologize because of the weather. We got dumped on pretty hard down here. That's going to be delayed for another week. So I do apologize for that. Sincerely, I do. Everything's being put together. So I know you probably